Seagrasses are a unique group of flowering plants that grow in the shallow coastal waters of most continents. Seagrasses are the only flowering plants which grow in marine environments. There are about 60 species of fully marine seagrasses which belong to 4 families. Seagrasses are economically important because seagrass beds support reef fish productivity and biodiversity of coral reef ecosystems. Seagrasses also provide important regulating services such as nutrient retention and recycling, water quality control, and carbon sequestration. Seagrasses also provide food, shelter, and essential nursery areas to commercial and recreational fishery species and to countless invertebrates living in seagrass communities. Seagrasses are ecologically important because they play a vital part of the marine ecosystem due to their productivity level. They also perform numerous functions such as providing food and habitat for other marine organisms and stabilizing the sea bottom. If the seagrass dies, not only will it take away a food and shelter source for many creatures, but it will also begin to release nutrients that will feed into algae blooms, which will take over the water and basically suffocate any remaining seagrass in the water. The losses of seagrasses also threaten the future of endangered species and the habitat for many other organisms. The losses of seagrasses also decrease the primary production, carbon sequestration, and nutrient cycling in the coastal zone. With the loss also of seagrasses, we also lose ecosystem services they provide to the fish and shellfish relying on these areas for nursery habitat. There are different ways in order to protect seagrasses, but the easiest way to protect seagrasses is by preventing damage in the first place. So first is be aware if you live near the coast or along a river, be careful when applying fertilizers and pesticides. Use only the amount of fertilizers required and consider using slow-release fertilizers. Second, read the waters. Wear polarized sunglasses when boating to reduce the surface glare to help you see shallow areas of seagrass beds. Third, know your boating signs and markers. Operate your boat in marked channels to prevent running aground and damaging seagrass beds. Fourth, know your dip and drop. When in doubt about the dip, slow down and idle. If you're leaving a muddy trail behind your boat, you are probably cutting seagrasses. Fifth, be on the lookout. Decks, boathouses, and even boats can block sunlight from reaching the seagrass below. When building or repairing a dock, consider building the dock 5 feet above the water and using grafting rather than planks. Extend the dock to deeper water so your boat can not shade seagrasses. 6. Study your charts. Use navigational charts, fishing maps, or local boating guides to become familiar with waterways. These nautical charts alert you to shallow areas so you don't run aground and damage seagrasses. The importance of protecting seagrasses is that they play a vital role of the marine ecosystem due to their productivity level. Seagrasses perform numerous functions, not just providing food and habitat for other marine organisms, but they help in stabilizing the sea bottom. So a short trivia for seagrasses. Seagrasses are one of the most productive plant communities on Earth. They can absorb carbon up to 35 times faster than Amazonian rainforest. Yes, you read it right. 35 times more effective, seagrass meadows account for more than 10% of the ocean global carbon storage. Well, it is only covering around 0.1% of the ocean floor that adds up roughly to 27.4 million tons of CO2 annually. Mangroves are a group of trees and shrubs that live in the coastal intertidal zone. There are about 80 different species of mangrove trees. All of these trees grow in areas with low oxygen soil, where slow-moving waters allow fine sediments to accumulate. Of the recognized 110 mangrove species, only about 54 species and 20 genera from 16 families constitute the true mangroves, species that occur almost exclusively in mangrove habitats. Demonstrating convergent evolution, many of these species found similar solutions to the tropical condition of variable salinity, tidal range, anaerobic soils, and intense sunlight. Plant biodiversity is generally low in a given mangrove. The greatest biodiversity of mangrove occurs in Southeast Asia, particularly in the Indonesian archipelago. The economic importance of mangrove is that mangrove ecosystems provide significant socio-economic benefits such as timber, fish, tourism opportunities, and environmental services. For example, coastal protection, water regulation, carbon sequestration, and nursery habitat for the wide-ranging diversities of species. The ecological importance of mangrove is that mangrove trees help form a natural barrier against violent storm surges and floods. Rivers and land sediment is trapped by the roots, which protects coastline areas and slow erosions. This filtering process also prevents harmful sediment reaching coral reefs and seagrass meadows. There are threats regarding the destruction of mangroves. One of these following is typhoons, global warming, climate change, destruction of habitat lead to severe losses of biodiversity and livelihoods, salt intrusion in coastal areas and siltation of coral reefs and tourism will also suffer. There are different ways in order to protect mangroves, but in order to protect this ecosystem, you must look for sustainable alternatives to eating farm shrimp from mangrove areas. Find local conservation and government organizations in your area that are working to conserve mangrove forests and support them. We also need to plant new mangrove trees, clean the area, teach others about the importance of mangrove swamps, and always be responsible. The importance of protecting mangrove is that the sturdy root system of mangrove trees help form a natural barrier against violent storm surges and floods. Rivers and land sediment is trapped by the roots, which protects coastline areas and slow erosions. A short trivia about mangroves. Mangroves have the ability to store vast amounts of carbon. Mangrove forests are key weapons in the fight against climate change, but they are under threat worldwide.